What's going on, guys? I'm the Walrus Jedi, and in today's video I will be talking about the book Star Wars: Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster and published by Del Rey on February 12th, 1978. It is set to ABY, or 2 years after A New Hope. And if you like this video, then please consider liking and subscribing for more videos on Star Wars books and other Star Wars things. And there will be spoilers for Splinter of the Mind's Eye, so this is your spoiler warning. And now the Dramatis Personae, or the characters. You have Luke Skywalker. You know who Luke Skywalker is. Princess Leia. You should know who she is as well. And then you have Hala. She is a human, native of Mimban, and she is force sensitive. Hin. He is a Yuzum prisoner. Ki is another Yuzum prisoner. You have Darth Vader. You should know who Darth Vader is. You know, Luke's dad and stuff like that. And then you have Grammel. He is a human captain supervisor of the Imperial mining operation on Sarkarpus 5, or Mimban. And now the story. Luke and Leia, they're going to Sarkarpus 4 to meet with some groups who want to join the rebellion. But Leia's ship has issues, so they are forced to land on Sarkarpus 5, or Mimban. And they find an Imperial mining town once they've landed and found each other. They meet Hala, a local, lady who basically forces them to help her because she can tell that they're not from Mimban. And she wants them to help her find what is known as the Kyber crystal. And what this crystal does is it basically augments the force of whoever's holding the crystal. And she has a piece of it known as the Splinter, and that's obviously where the title comes from. And so they part, and then they get captured by Grammel, and he interrogates them, doesn't really get a whole lot out of them. And then Luke and Leia, they have to share a cell with a couple of Yuzum, who they do manage to befriend, because apparently Luke, during his free time on, the moisture farm on Tatooine, he was able to learn about Yuzums. So, whatever. And, they escape. And then they, along with Hala, having procured a transport, they go to the temple where the Kyber crystal is. And after several days, they get attacked by a monstrous creature, some giant, slug monster thing. And Luke and Leia, they go one way, and then Hala and the Yuzum, they go another way. And Luke and Leia, they go to a pit. The slug falls down the pit. They continue their way through the pit, and they come across the Koe, which are some natives of Mimban, and Hala and the Yuzum have been captured by the Koe, and so to basically get everyone free and so they can leave, Luke has to fight a champion of the Koe. So and he can't do it with his lightsaber, so basically it's hand to hand. Although obviously Luke does end up using the Force, and that's how he bests the champion. And after that, they, want to have a feast, so they have a feast. And then the Empire attacks them, led by Vader. And Luke and Leia and the natives and that, they do manage to push the Empire out, because the advantage goes to the natives, because they're fighting in their terrain, and they set up an ambush and stuff like that. So They push out, and Vader doesn't come back because he's heading to the Kyber crystal. So the our heroes, they decide to follow him because they don't want Vader to get that, because that would be very bad if Vader got that. And so they, find a vehicle. They drive for several days. They get to the temple of Pomojema, who is a minor deity on Mimban. It basically looks like Cthulhu, the tentacle face guy, and yeah, and the Kyber is sitting in a receptacle on his chest on the big statue in the temple, and basically before they can get it, a giant lizard creature comes and attacks Luke and Leia, and Hala's useless. She is basically she's like so engrossed with the Kyber crystal that she basically just ignores Luke and Leia fighting the lizard, and she just goes to the crystal. It's very much this obviously reminded me of, in Lord of the Rings with the ring, and like Gollum and stuff like that, where that's her sole focus, and that's all like Gollum cares about. So that reminded me of that. And so eventually Luke and Leia, they best the lizard, but some rocks fall on Luke, so he's unable to free himself. Vader comes, and so Leia uses Luke's lightsaber and fends off Vader, but Vader's toying with her. That's why she can last as long as she does, but she gets cuts. She gets cut in her face, on her back, her leg, or her chest, like all over. Vader's just playing around with her, basically has no chance. And then the Yuzum were basically killed, but Hin managed to come in. He wasn't dead yet, but he's basically dead. His last act of being alive is to get Luke out of the rock, that's on him. That happens. Luke picks up the lightsaber. He duels Vader, and then Vader falls into a pit, and he's gone. And so Hala gives the Kyber crystal to Luke. Luke heals himself and Leia, and then they leave. And that's the book. That's the story. So what I liked. I liked the journey, the adventure. I thought it was pretty cool. And it was really fun, and a very interesting sequel to A New Hope, because that's what this book is supposed to serve as. Originally, is this was supposed to be kind of a sequel to A New Hope, and that just in case if like A New Hope wasn't successful enough to do a big budget sequel, that they could basically make Splinter into a movie. And I feel like if it would have got made into a movie, it actually would have been a pretty cool movie. So this book has a nice variety of aliens. You have Yuzums, and then you have like the Kowei and several other aliens on Mimban, and then you have the creatures, the giant slug monster, giant lizard thing, and then there is another creature that they encounter, Luke and Leia in the subterranean cavern area, some aquatic slug monster thing, but it's kind of irrelevant. But so nice group, a nice mix of aliens and that, so pretty cool. What I didn't like, Leia fighting Vader, to me just feels unbelievable. Okay, she might have she probably does have some hand-to-hand combat training, but she ain't gonna know how to use a lightsaber. And the only reason she's alive is Vader was basically playing with her. He's messing around. Yeah, so that's the only reason. Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't think it was that great. And the ending, I thought was a little weak. Like the adventure was better than kind of the ending, because like Hala, I was kind of thinking like, oh yeah, she's a faker. She's not that big of a master of the Force, and she isn't. She was just saying that and stuff. But yeah, and then when she basically goes to the crystal, I thought she'd betray him. No, she basically just sat on her butt, and while they did all the heavy lifting, and then when all the bad guys were gone, Hala's like, oh, she snaps out of it, and I don't know, I just didn't like that at all. So that's it. There's only just one more thing that I would like to kind of talk about, and like the novelization of A New Hope, this book also kind of has Luke and Leia, like this one really starts to cement, like, okay, they're Luke and Leia kind of like each other, that, yeah, like they're like, that they could be a couple, and yeah, it's weird because obviously if you've seen the original trilogy, they're brother and sister, so reading this book with that knowledge, it's a little weird. But obviously when this was written, they weren't brother and sister. So overall, I liked this book. It's not my favorite book, and it could be interesting. I think it would make an interesting movie or TV show or whatever if they were ever to adapt it, which they'll never adapt it because if they were going to adapt some books from the EU, I wouldn't pick Splinter first. They should do Splinter eventually, but anyways, yeah, I'd probably give this book we'll go with a 7 out of 10. Not a bad read. If you're bored, or it's a rainy day or whatever, and you need something to read, something to do, Splinter's a pretty good choice. So yeah. Well, what did you think of this book if you've read it? Yeah. And what do you think of the Luke and Leia dynamic in this book? Does it bug you, or yeah? You can let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.